have all the candidates take a seat up here. Okay, once again, good evening and welcome to this open forum for the candidates of the Town of Champlain elections. My name is Chris Huckrow. I will be moderating this evening. The format for tonight's forum will be as follows. I have a list of questions prepared to ask the panelists. Each candidate will have the same amount of time to answer those questions. And once we finish that section, the audience will then be given an opportunity to ask the candidates questions. If I believe the question from the audience to be unfair or inappropriate, the candidates will not be required to answer, and we'll move on to the next question. Although not all the candidates that are running for office in this election are here tonight, I would like to ask everyone's cooperation in keeping this forum fair and balanced, and would ask that the audience and candidates refrain from applause or any other sign of approval or disapproval during the course of this forum. And I would now like to introduce the candidates, starting from left to right. Donna Giro, who is running as a Democrat for the position of Town Clerk and Tax Collector. Donna is a resident of the Town of Champlain and has been here for 38 years. She served 3 years as a JCEO coordinator and is currently the Religious Education Coordinator at St. Mary's. She worked for 10 years at Harris Graphics and has served in many other roles and has worn many other hats, and her heart is in being a public servant. She also has 3 children and 3 grandsons. Next we have Julie Castine, who is also running for Town Clerk and Tax Collector as a Republican. Julie has lived in Champlain for 17 years. She's worked for the town for 5 as Deputy to the Clerk, as Zoning Board Secretary, Planning Board Secretary, Water and Sewer Clerk, Code and Zoning Clerk, and she is also certified as a Code Officer. And Julie is married and has 2 children. Next is Bruce Siegman, who is running for councilperson as a Republican. Bruce retired from teaching after 32 years. He has served as a trustee and a deputy mayor for the village of Walden, New York. Bruce serves as an officer currently of the Rouse's Point Fire Department and also as the chairman of the Town of Champlain Zoning Board. Next we have Craig Hicks, who is also running for the position of councilperson. Craig is a lifelong resident of the Town of Champlain. He has worked for the Champlain Telephone Company for 5 years. Craig served in the Navy for 4 years as a radioman, where he received letters of accommodation. He is married and he has 1 son. And Larry Barkle is running for town supervisor. Larry has also been a lifelong resident of the Town of Champlain. He is retired after 25 years of dairy farming and stays active as a part-time operator of a convenience station. He served 15 years on the Shazy School Board, 4 as president, 14 years on the BOCES Board of Education, and is currently serving on that board. For the past 9, he has served as president of that board. He's also served on the Northern Lights Lodge number 505 for 34 years. He has served as a member of the board of directors on the Clinton County Farm Bureau, has been a councilman for the past 2 years. Mr. Barkham is married. He has 4 children and 6 grandchildren. So I'd like to begin with the first question. I'm going to start to the left. And the second question, we'll start with the second to the left position and follow that order. If elected or re-elected to office, what will be or would be your first priority and why?
is a first-time experience for me in the political realm. My first priority would be to thank publicly all those who voted for me and contributed to my campaign success. Because of their efforts and confidence in me, I would have the privilege to serve everyone in our community as town clerk and tax collector.
Thank you. Julie, would you like to respond? Sure. Would you like to hear a question?
I would be there to assist the town board. I'm short here. To assist the town board by providing any and all documents needed to give background information on town issues and to be available to all town residents to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
If I'm elected, I would keep myself informed on the issues, and at meetings, I would let the people know why I vote yes or no. I would also keep the other board members informed of activities that are going on. I hope they would keep me informed. So better communication between the board members, and especially communications with the public. I think the public has only one place to voice their opinions to their government, and that is at meetings, not to be told to wait a month or 2 months or not get an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Anderson.
If elected to office, my first priority will be to evaluate the workings of town government so that I can help improve its efficiency.
Thank you, Mr. Markle.
Well, when I first heard the question, first priorities, I thought, I have several priorities, and I didn't know if any one would be best to be first priority. Certainly my priorities would be to the voters, those that elected me, and to keep my town council board members informed, much better so than I was. I felt there was issues that I should have been updated on and I was not. There's issues I still don't know much I was not updated on. The board must work together. A town supervisor cannot do it by himself. He must have 4 fellow board members that can help him get things done. One person cannot do it alone. It's obvious some things are not getting done. My first priority is to the voters, to be more responsive to the voters, and to have a better informed board.
Thank you. The second question is, what have you or will you do to involve and keep informed those town residents who want to be involved and informed about town problems and issues which come before you? We'll start with Mrs. Castine.
I would keep accurate town minutes of all the official town board meetings and provide documents of copies of the minutes under the Freedom of Information Law.
I think I've already answered that in my first statement. I would again explain why I vote and try to keep people informed and let them voice their opinions at meetings and take it into consideration.
I am in possession of the town board's minutes for the past 12 months, and I am aware of the issues at hand. In order to keep my constituency involved, if necessary, periodically I will hold a public forum so that people can come in, ask questions, and express their concerns, and it will be my duty to get them their answers in a timely fashion.
Certainly, keeping the voters and all town residents informed on issues, it's a high priority. Some people want answers, they don't get answers, they need answers. It seems, and I make you one promise, nobody will have to put a question in writing to me. If I don't have an answer, I'll be truthful and tell you that I don't have an answer, and I'll get back to you. I will keep everybody informed. I expect to be there several hours a week. The telephones up there will be changed when I get there. You, hopefully, that 99% of the time, you will not have to talk to a recorder. I just hate recorders for some reason. I understand they serve a useful purpose, but we must have a better format to keep people informed immediately and not maybe a month later, if at all.
Thank you, Mr. Barcom. We'll start with Mr. Siegman.
Don hasn't answered that question.
I'm sorry.
As regards to keeping the citizens informed about anything that takes place in the town office, I will diligently record everything that is required in an appropriate fashion, keep confidentiality when it is an issue, and be trustworthy with all materials supplied and used in that office.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. Now we'll start the next question with Mr. Siegman. Why should a voter give you their vote rather than your opponent's?
I was approached by some people that wanted me to run because there was a lack of communications. I've been to board meetings and I've seen how it works, and I have experience. I think that I would have an open mind on most issues, and I do have vast experience in government, and I'd like to serve in government again.
Thank you, Mr. Siegman. Mr. Hicks?
I'm a young, vibrant worker, and I will work my tail off for the residents in the town of Champlain. I will do everything in my power to get people the answers that they need at any time.
Thank you. Mr. Barcom?
Hopefully, people will give you their vote rather than my opponents, because you need and want to change. You want somebody that will be more responsive to your questions, to get answers in a more timely fashion, and hopefully that things will change. I certainly wouldn't even try this endeavor if I didn't think that I could leave the place better than I found it. I always said that when I was 15 years on the Shazy School Board, and I left it better than I found it. On the Bosey's Board, we've had some great strides. I feel my time is worth it. On this particular supervisor's job, I feel that somewhere down the road, people can judge me on about what I did. And hopefully I can leave it better than I found it. And then I'll consider myself as having a successful term. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barcom. Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
What's the question?
I'm sorry. Why should a voter give you their vote as opposed to you?
I'm kind of at a loss because I don't have a copy of the questions. I believe that voting for me creates a win-win situation. That's right, a triple win situation. My opponent wins because she's still employed at the town office, and I win because I'm elected to be the town clerk. But most importantly, the town wins, and all the people in the town, because of the combined skills, experiences, and teamwork that Julie and I will be able to give back to the town.
Thank you. Ms. Kazak?
First, let me state that I have learned a great deal of knowledge the past 5 years working with Ralph Gilpin and serving the town board. I have the experience in the job, and for the past 4 years, I have been deputy to Ralph Gilpin, and during that time have performed all duties of town clerk, such as issuing dog, fishing, hunting, and marriage licenses. I have taken town board minutes and done the necessary paperwork for resolutions and local laws. I am trained on the computer program, which is a state requirement for issuing dog, fishing, and hunting licenses. I have attended meetings and learned the program for the tax collecting job, which will now be a responsibility of town clerk. I'm knowledgeable in the building, zoning, and codes department, which I can assist people when department head is not available. If elected, I will save tax dollars because I have past experience in the job and a minimum amount of training would be required.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Mr. Hicks. Why are you running for election?
Former President Kennedy once said, "Every citizen should serve their community in some capacity, whether at the local, state, or federal level." I have an interest in serving our community at the local level. I have been provided a wonderful education, I've secured a terrific job, and I would like to give back to this community what has been given to me.
Thank you. Mr. Burkham.
I guess I hardly answered the fourth question when I answered the third one. Why should you vote for me instead of my opponent? I guess the reason why I'm running for elected office, I'm hoping to make a change, and that people want a change, and they are ready for that change, I believe. And I just believe it's the right time, it's the right opportunity, and it's the right moment to do that. 2 years ago, my opponent did have no opposition at that time. This time he does. I brought up a poster with me I'd like just to share with some people. It says, "There's no problems that we cannot solve together, but very few that we can solve by ourselves." We just need to be more cooperative amongst ourselves and get things done. This was said by Lyndon Baines Johnson. I'm running, hopefully that I can make a change in town government. I feel that I have the experience. I hope I'm elected.
Thank you, Mr. Burkham. Mrs. Sherman.
Thanks, Jim. You don't happen to have an extra copy of the press release?
The question was, why are you running for election?
I'm running for public office because I'm committed to serving my community. My past experiences as coordinator for the JCEO have tested and proved my abilities to be a valuable facilitator, resource, and record keeper for many people. Over the years, I have observed Ralph Gilpin's conduct and the way he officiated in his duties with dignity, diligence, and dedication. It is with this same attitude and respect for his example that I hope to be elected to serve as town clerk. I have often said lately that it will take a big woman to fill Ralph's shoes, and I'm ready.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Mrs. Gastein.
Like I said, I have the experience in the job, and I'm here to work with the people and help them in any way that I can.
Thank you. The next question is directed towards those running for...
Bruce doesn't answer that one.
I'm sorry, Bruce.
Don't try to answer it the same way.
I'm trying
All
to
these
keep
questions-
track. I guess I have to...
All these questions are related. I served on the planning zoning board And I know the problems of the community. I've served a community in the lower New York State, which has probably more problems. I have experience. I want to have more communications amongst the board members and the community. And I think we can leave this community in 4 years or 2 years, whatever it is, a community better than we have it today.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. The next question will be addressed only to those running for council and supervisor. We'll start with Mr. Barcombe. The question is, what thoughts do you have on the idea that municipal governments should, as much as possible, work with each other to avoid duplication of efforts?
I believe that's the question number 5 and question number 6, they probably run in together somewhat. We, the town board, should and must work with 2 villages to avoid any type of duplication. We do have some of that now. We need more of it. Our town assessor does the work for the villages. Our code enforcement officer also does work for both villages. There is other services that we can consider. We need to sit down and talk with both village boards. I'm sure they'll be receptive to it. It could be cost saving for both villages and the town. It can work, it should work, and it can work.
Thank you, Mr. Barcombe. Mr. Siegel, same question. What thoughts do you have on the idea that the municipal government should, as much as possible, work with each other to avoid duplication of efforts?
Well, I believe we should work together. These 3 levels of government is getting ridiculous with the taxes going up and the duplication of services. I think we should work as much as possible with the 2 villages and share public works projects, perhaps personnel, because these 3 levels of government, especially with the economic things that have been happening in this area, we're going to have to combine these and think about it quickly.
Thank you. Mr. Hicks.
I definitely do not support duplication of effort wherever possible. A good example of this is borrowing and sharing of certain services. Recently, Champlain had an accident with with their ambulance. They didn't have to go out and buy one or rent one. They borrowed one. And keeping things within the county as much as possible, and more importantly, within the villages and the town.
Thank you. Any of these questions you want to respond to? Thanks. Again, these questions, the next question will be addressed to the council and supervisor nominees. We will start with Mr. Siegel. Within a 5 square mile area, we have 3 units of local government, each with its own highway department, its own staff, its own elected officers. Would you ever consider discussing municipal mergers?
I think I would consider it, but I think it's very far down the line unless, economics shows that we need to do it more sooner. But I think we have to go to referendum with the people and let the people decide if they want to combine municipalities and their services. But I don't see it in the near future.
Mr. Hicks?
If the opportunity ever arose where one of our municipalities was finding it impossible, fiscally impossible to operate, as a town board member, I would be open-minded to offering our services.
Thank you. Mr. Bergman?
The town per se does not have a say whether a village dissolves. That is up to the village residents. It's an automatic merger if a village dissolves. And that's up to that local village voters only. I'm very receptive to the fact that if either village would like to be part of the town wholly and town government, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But that is a village issue. A town cannot swallow up, so to speak, a village. The village has to dissolve itself. Only the village residents can do that. No other elected officials can do that. I would be very receptive if that happens. I have no problem with that.
Thank you, Mr. Bergman. This next question is again addressed to the same three candidates. We'll start with Mr. Barcombe. I'm sorry, yes, Mr. Barcombe. What are your thoughts about the idea of sewer and water service all along Route 11 to encourage business development?
I very much encourage it. I personally surveyed Route 11 as a town councilman to see if there was a need or desire to have that. And over 70% of the respondents, these are the 20 or 30 parcels closest to Rouse's Point on Route 11. And over 70% of them said yes, they would be interested in it. I wholly support public water and sewer on Route 11. We need it for future economic development. It just probably won't happen without it. It's almost a must if we want to go forward and develop that area to help us on our higher tax base. It can only help us. We need it. I hope it comes about.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel.
Is that the question about the water and sewers?
Yes.
I think we should have water and sewer on the Route 11 and many other areas perhaps that can be developed. I worked in the village of Walden for 6 years. We began with a water problem. It took us 6 years to find water because we used wells down there, and we got 300 gallons a minute. It's one of my accomplishments. We also doubled the capacity of the sewer plant, and the population of the village expanded rapidly with no problems down there. So I do favor the water and sewer coming to Route 11, but it shouldn't be a burden on the taxpayer. Many of these companies build a warehouse, they require certain fire flows, they require firefighting equipment, and in the Walden area, one of these companies pitched in about half the cost of the fire truck. And that fire truck cost $800,000. There's nothing that big in this area. The population is much smaller down there, or much bigger down there than it is here. But we can get this perhaps through grants. We should work as much as we can for state grants, federal grants, as much as we can do to keep the burden off the taxpayer. These people that want water flows, that want sewer, I think that if they build it, they should help pay for it, most of it, and not burden the taxpayers.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Mr. Hicks.
I am in favor of water and sewer service along Route 11. This will attract new businesses into our area if water and sewer are already into place, as well as increasing our town's tax base. Can't you imagine the businesses that would come into this area if water and sewer were already in place along busy Route 11?
You stay right there, Mr.
Sure.
Let's start with the next question. What are your thoughts about the possibility of a community swimming pool for local residents, as mentioned in the Rouse's Point revitalization plan?
I'm in favor for any youth activity that benefits youth, but this would also benefit seniors and middle-aged people as well. This will be of no cost to the taxpayers with the grant funding that is in place under the revitalization plan. I benefited from services that were afforded me as a lifelong resident in the village of Rouse's Point at the Civic Center. I learned to skate and play hockey there. So I am definitely in favor of a community swimming pool.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. The next question is addressed to all of the candidates that would like to respond. We can start with Mr. Barcombe, and the question is, do you support the 4-year term proposition, which is on the ballot in November? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
For those of you that may watch the town board meetings on TV, I responded to this before, and my answer is the same tonight. I have absolutely no problem with a 4-year term for those positions. I have a problem with it an election year. Last year, we combined the town tax collector and the town clerk into one position. And at that time, it was mentioned, we checked with the lawyer, legal counsel on that, and it could have been done at that time. We should have done this last year. I just don't like the the thought of doing it in an election year. Other than that, I would support a 4-year term. Do not think it should be done. We're going to the polls in November. You're pulling a lever for a 2 or a 4-year term without knowing who's winning or who's not winning that election. We as candidates don't know if we're getting a 4 or a 2-year term. I think it's bad to do it this year. I would not support it this year.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Would you like to respond, Mr. Burton?
In principle, I do support 4-year proposal for terms. Because when you have a good team going, it becomes disruptive when you have to take time to campaign and you may have other issues that are more important. However, this year, I think that the candidate should be the focus and not the length of the term.
Thank you, Mrs. Giron. Ms. Cassidy.
Yes, I support the 4-year term. I feel 2 years is a short amount of time to learn the job. I've been working with Ralph Gilpin for the past 5 years and I have learned a great deal and continue to learn updates to programs and challenges with the town issues, which are an ongoing occurrence each week. 4 years allows better feel for the duties required and the confidence needed to perform the duties of the position. Over 50% of the counties have the position of town council, supervisor, highway superintendent, a 4-year term. I think this is the way of the future.
Thank you. Mr. Siegel.
I didn't get the answer to the one about swimming pool. Was that coming later?
I keep doing this. Wait, why don't you answer this question?
Okay.
Follow that up with your answer about the swimming.
I do support the 4-year term, and just like Larry, I believe it's the wrong time. It should go to the next election and give people a chance to think about it. Any of these things that are in referendum, such as this, should go on to the next election and not affect this election. But it is be less expensive to run, and I think people that have a longer term, it takes that long to learn some of the things. Okay, go back to the swimming pool.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Now, what are your thoughts on the possibility of a community swimming pool for local residents?
Okay, I'm not in favor of it. We underutilize what we have. Maybe I was not spoiled because I swam in the lake. I don't know if the lake's, the bacteria is too high or anything, but I think you could utilize the facilities they have here. My daughter is a teacher and they opened a swimming pool in their new school and it's used every afternoon, all weekend. They just hire, it's a lot cheaper to hire some lifeguards, I think, than it is to build a pool. And we got to start economizing because, again, these recent assessments that everybody's upset about, this is another thing that's expensive. You're going to have lifeguards down there, you're going to have lifeguards up here. You're duplicating services again. And I'm not in favor of another swimming pool.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Mr. Hicks, back to the question of the 4-year term proposition. Do you support or not support that? If you want to do that?
No, I do not support the 4-year term ballot, and this is why. If a candidate does a good job, they will surely be reelected in 2 years. On the other hand, if a candidate does not do their job, they will be out in 2 years rather than 4.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. That is all of the prepared questions that I have for the candidates. I'll now open it up to questions from the public. And I already have one. And the order in which these questions are answered, I will leave up to the candidates. If you'd like to respond, go ahead and raise your hand, and I'll call you up individually to answer. The first question is, do you have any experience in management of business or people? Mr. Seagren, would you like to answer that?
Managing a business, no, but as a trustee in the Village of Walden, we had a very large part of the public works. I was also supervisor for the last 3 years of my teaching, and I was supervising other teachers. And I had many student teachers through the years, so I think I have some supervisory experience.
Thank you.
Repeat the question.
Sure. The question is, do you have any experience in management of business and or people?
In my 4 years that I spent in the United States Navy, I was very fortunate that I progressed through the ranks rather quickly, and I ended up getting a crew of at least, I believe, I had 30 people working underneath me. And through that, I ended up going to Navy Leadership School, and this is what helped me in receiving the awards that I received while I was in the military.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
Certainly, I would rely on my past experiences. 15 years on the Shazy School Board, working with people, with boards. It was a 7-member board. I was elected 3 times for 15 years, total 15 years. I feel I have vast experience on the BOSI's board. I've been president for 9 years, past 9 years, still president of that board. And that's a 15-member board, which is a quite large board to keep informed. And I feel I've been very successful. Obviously, I'm still there after 9 years as president. I feel I can work well with a board. That's how you get things done, when you work together. That's, and other than that, I had 25 years experience owning a dairy farm. So I do know something about business and keeping checkbooks straight.
Thank you, Mr. Barcombe. Would you like to answer that?
I don't have any experience in business, but I do have experience with working with the people. I work with them daily. I try to help them the best I can, the best of my ability. And also, I've worked at the hospital, and I've dealt with people every day there, and you never know what you're going to come with. But working with the people and helping the best you can is the best.
If anyone in the audience has a question, I'd ask that you raise your hand and ask me the question. I'll then restate it for the candidates. Not everybody at once, please. I guess that'll conclude the question and answer period. If any of the candidates have any prepared closing comments, I'd invite them to the podium. Start on the left with.
I thank you very much for the opportunity of inviting me to be here this evening. I appreciate it, and I look forward to serving you should I be elected as town clerk, Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chairman.
I would like to thank everybody for coming, and I hope to wish to continue serving the community.
Thank you. Mr. Seaver.
I'd also like to thank everyone for coming, and I hope it's a good election year.
And I'll reiterate it too, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I know that the weather wasn't the most cooperative today, or tonight I should say, but most importantly, get out on November 8th. Your support will be appreciated.
I think the forum said it all. We thank you for coming on a rainy night. We certainly know it was a miserable night. I thank all those people who have supported me thus far. I've had a lot of positive feedback. I enjoyed meeting people. I hope you all turn out on November 8th. Every vote does count. Late November 8th, early November 9th, we'll know the results. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. I'd like to thank all the candidates for participating here tonight, and thank the public for attending. I'm sorry, Joe. Oh, yeah, I was asked to read the Republican Party platform, so I'll do that in closing. The platform, at number 1, increase cooperation with villages. Number 2, encourage economic development, including develop water and sewer resources for Route 11 and other industrial sites. Work with local, county, state, and federal governments to attract industry. Number 3, respond to citizens' questions in a timely manner. Number 4, follow up to unanswered questions promptly. Number 5, be fiscally responsive to citizens' concerns in regard to property assessments. Number 6, support JCEO in their efforts to provide help to senior citizens. Number 7, keep the full board informed on pending topics and activities of concern to town government. And number 8, encourage cooperation with the villages in sharing public works equipment, know-how, and infrastructure. Once again, thank you all. Please drive safe tonight.